Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Narayana Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottama, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire, Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shlokir Bhaktir Bhavatir Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Verse 4. Tatsadu varya dishavartma samnaha samradhito bhagavanyena pumsam hridhi stito yachhati bhakti pute jnanam sattatvavdigamam puranam. Tat, therefore, sadhu varya, O great one among the saints, Adisha, please instruct, Vartma, the path, Sam, auspicious, Na, for us, Samraditaha, being perfectly served, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yena, by which, Pumsam, of the living entity, Hridistitaha, residing in the heart, Yachati, awards, Bhakti Pute, unto the unalloyed devotee, Jnanam, knowledge, Sa, that, Tattva, truth, Adigamam, by which one learns, Puranam, authorized, old. Translation. Therefore, O great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that he who is situated in the heart of everyone, can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in terms of the ancient Vedic principles, delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As already explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the absolute truth is realized in three different phases, although they are one and the same, in terms of the knower's capacity to understand. The most capable transcendentalist is the pure devotee of the Lord, who is without any tinge of fruitive actions or philosophical speculation. By devotional service, only does one's heart become completely purified from all material coverings like karma, jnana, and yoga. Only in such a purified stage does the Lord, who is seated in everyone's heart within the individual soul, give instructions so that the devotee can reach the ultimate destination of going back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajadam. Only when the Lord is satisfied with the devotional service of the Lord does he impart knowledge, as he did for Arjuna and Uddhava. The jnanis and yogis and karmis cannot expect this direct cooperation of the Lord. They are not able to satisfy the Lord by transcendental loving service, nor do they believe in such service to the Lord. The bhakti process, as performed under the regulated principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, or devotional service, following the prescribed rules and regulations, is defined in the revealed scriptures and confirmed by great acharyas. This practice can help the neophyte devotee to rise to the stage of Raga Bhakti, in which the Lord responds from the within as the Chaitya Guru, or the spiritual master, as super consciousness. All transcendentalists other than the devotees make no distinction between the individual soul and the super soul, because they miscalculate the super consciousness and the individual consciousness to be one and the same. Such miscalculation by the non-devotee makes them unfit to receive any direction from within, and therefore they are bereft of direct cooperation of the Lord. After many, many births, when such a non-dualist comes to sense that the Lord is worshipable and that the devotee is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, then only can he surrender unto the Lord, Vasudeva. Pure devotional service begins from that point. The process of understanding the absolute truth adopted by the misguided non-dualist is very difficult, whereas the devotee's way of understanding the absolute truth comes directly from the Lord, who is pleased by devotional service. On behalf of many neophyte devotees, Vidura, at the very first instance, inquired from Maitreya about the path of devotional service, by which the Lord, who is seated within the heart, can be pleased. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my respectful obeisances. I'm so glad to be joining all of you in the morning to study, have studied this verse, prepared, and to report all of you my findings. And I also thank Mother Buddhi Prabhuji for giving me this opportunity, this enriching service to bring to all of you. So today we will be exploring the inquiries of Vidura to Maitreya. And on one level, these inquiries are simply just questions from Vidura Maharaj to Maitreya on the path of Vaidhi Bhakti. He's just asking the process of devotional service and how he can move from Vaidhi Bhakti to Raga Bhakti. And that's on one level. But there are so many different meanings given in Srimad Bhagavatam, so many layers of meaning in Srimad Bhagavatam. And here, Prabhupada gives one hint of such a meaning. He says, on behalf of many neophyte devotees, Vidura, at the very first instance, inquired from Maitreya on the path of devotional service. So on the behalf of devotees who are not as advanced as Vidura, he is asking on their behalf, so that they may learn how to approach a guru, approach a spiritual master, and things like that, and basic Vaishnava etiquette. So the example of Vidura is meant to teach us how to be good recipients of mercy. And what is it meant by good recipients of mercy? Mercy is always there. Mercy is like sunshine. It is always shining everywhere. Krishna's mercy is his Kripa Shakti surpasses all of his other Shaktis. He has so many Shaktis, but so many powers and potencies. But his Kripa Shakti, his mercy power, surpasses all of them. And it is like the sunshine. It is shining everywhere. But the example I once heard from a class of His Grace Buddha Bhavana Prabhu, the example is given of clothes drying in France and clothes drying in India. So in London, France, when the clothes are drying, the place is very moist. It's a very shady place. In France, you don't get so much sunlight. But when you go to India and you take those same clothes that you are drying in France and you dry them in India, they immediately, all of the water starts to evaporate. So being a good recipient of Krishna's mercy is not so much about being a good devotee or being highly advanced or knowing so much, but it's actually about positioning ourselves in different ways to be good recipients of that mercy so that that mercy can fall on our hands more easily. So Here we are learning in this verse how, on the example of Vidura Maharaj, how to position ourselves as the disciple, as the devotee, at the feet of a more advanced devotee, how to position ourselves in that way so that we are good recipients of Krishna's mercy. So the first thing we can do on this path to become better recipients is to understand that the process of bhakti is absolutely perfect. So as explained as mentioned in the purport, the absolute truth is realized in three different phases, although they are one and the same. So here we have a yogi meditating, and so we first start with the Brahman realization. The realization that God is impersonal, and everything around us is just an energy grid, and God is that energy grid around us. The next stage of realization is the Paramatma realization stage, where we see Krishna as the super soul within the heart, where we understand that Krishna is that localized aspect within every single individual. Finally, the most important and beautiful aspect of God, the Bhagavan realization we have on top with Krishna and his Gopa friend. That realization is most profound because, as explained in the verse, although they are one and the same in terms of, they are different in terms of the knower's capacity to understand. So here in this stage, the knower's capacity to understand is the greatest, as well as the fact that the jnanis, yogis, karmis, they cannot expect the direct cooperation of the Lord because there is no service in that relationship. There is no service in the relationship of the jnanis, yogis, and karmis because it is fixed on give and take. And Srila Prabhupada, he gives the example to illustrate the point of bereft of direct cooperation. He often gives the example of the rich man and the beggar. It's a Bengali proverb, and it goes like this. The rich man at night, he is praying very dearly to God, oh, Krishna, please, please, please make sure that no one comes into my house and steals from my riches. Please make sure no one comes and steals from me. But then there is the thief outside, the burglar outside, who is supposed to be burgling that house at night, and he's praying to Krishna, Krishna, please, please make sure that I can be able to steal from this rich man tonight. I really need to steal from him. So both are praying to Krishna, and both want something from Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna is saying, how can I make both of you happy? You both are giving me so much trouble. So he makes the point, how is he supposed to satisfy the rich man and the burglar? And he says, everyone is giving Krishna trouble, 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 trouble. Both the rich man is giving Krishna trouble with his prayers, and the burglar is giving Krishna trouble with his prayers, because they're trying to satisfy themselves. And so Srila Prabhupada, he makes a very funny point, but a very important point. He makes the point that instead of us making our own plans, instead we can go under Krishna's plan. And that is the entire point of Srimad Bhagavatam, the entire essence, to not go by our own plan, but to go by Krishna's plan. And that is the position of the devotee. Because the devotee is linked to Krishna with transcendental loving service, that's why they are able to understand Krishna's true nature, true identity, true greatness, true lovingness at the same time. So here we are also, how do we understand that process of bhakti? How do we get to that stage of bhakti? So Vaidhi to Raga Bhakti is the development of relationship with Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada, he makes the point that anyone can do this. That any neophyte devotee, on behalf of all neophyte devotees, that this is inquired. That any neophyte devotee can move from the point of Vaidhi Bhakti to Raga Bhakti. And where does that start? Where do we start on the process from Vaidhi Bhakti. It starts not with Krishna immediately speaking to us as the Chaitya Guru with the heart, but as is explained by Vidura Maharaj in this point, it begins with the Guru. The Guru wakes us up, and this is what we speak every day before classes and before our lectures and everything. We are asking Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, all the advanced devotees before us. We're asking them, Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are asking them to open our eyes again so that we may study Srimad Bhagavatam with the torch of knowledge, but not with our miscalculated knowledge, but with their true spiritual knowledge. The translation goes, I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. First verse, Mangalacharan. And a great example of this is whose appearance day was just yesterday. Srila Advaita Acharya Prabhu. And Srila Advaita Acharya Prabhu is a great example of how the Guru wakes us up, because simply by the tulsi that he offers the shaligram, simply 2-3 pieces of tulsi you can see in this picture, he offers his shaligram. Lord Krishna descends all the way from the spiritual world to the material world as Gaurang Mahaprabhu, simply in the response to those 3-4 tulsis that Advaita Acharya offers to shaligram. And thus, this Guru, this Advaita Acharya Prabhu, he wakes up the material world with the gift of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Advaita Acharya Prabhu is the perfect example of a Guru who wakes us up in that way. So when we forget our eternal relationship with Krishna, we are in darkness. And so this is the idea of this verse. The idea that we are in darkness. We are no longer in light when we forget that we are the eternal servant of Krishna. And as soon as the Guru opens up our eyes, they inspire us, and we'll go into more of how the Guru does this. Then the torch of knowledge wakes us up, and we are awake and in our true nature. Now, I want to give the example of the postman. The example is given, I was hearing a lecture by Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj, and he was giving the example of a postman. And when we send a letter to someone, we are sending some document, but the postman is the one who takes that letter, moves from place to place. Here we have such snow outside, so much external circumstances, so many difficult things outside, and still the postmen are dutifully going from house to house to deliver, send and receive packages to help in that sort of way. And so from the receiver's point of view, if we are receiving a package, that postman, if we look at it logically, that postman is as good as the person who is giving us the message, because the postman is taking the trouble to go from the point of sending to the point of receiving, taking all of that trouble, and he's almost more important than that person who is sending, because he is taking all that trouble to come to us and to help us. And so the point comes, the Guru is good as God. And we can also understand this from the prayers of the Guru Vastaka, the 7th stanza. Sakshadharitvena samasta shastre uktastatha bhavyata eva sati kinto prabhoya priya eva tasya vande guru shri charanarvindam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord, because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hari. So following from the example of the postman, the Guru is to be honored as much as God. And we see this in the dealings of Vidura and Maitreya, with how much respect Vidura Maharaj treats Uddhava, with how much respect Vidura Maharaj treats Maitreya. And so we understand from this respect that when we are speaking with devotees who are more advanced than us, then there should be that as much honor as the Supreme Lord, as we give the Supreme Lord. When this process of taking a guru, it doesn't start with the Lord responding from within as a Chaitya Guru. So the Guru is speaking to us first, and then as we gradually become more and more advanced, Krishna will speak to us. So people often say, people will say, I hear God is speaking to me, God is telling me to do this. Yeah, maybe God, you're hearing some voice, maybe God is telling you something, but Krishna will also tell you what you want to hear. Krishna gives us the knowledge also, the intelligence also to miscalculate according to our own desires. If we want to misread the Vedas and the Vedic text, then Krishna gives us the intelligence to do that as well. So the position of the Guru is to give it in terms of the Vedic scriptures, whether we like it or not, whether they fit our own mental models of gratification or they don't. So that is the position of the Guru. So in that way, the Guru is as good as God, because he gives this knowledge without tampering. Like imagine if maybe a postman was sending a message from one place to another and he tampered. He went inside and he edited something, maybe did some adding, subtraction to the letter or the medical thing that was being sent from place A to place B. The more important that item, the more important is the crime to do some tampering, to do some editing, adding and subtracting to that material. So similarly, when we see, as Srila Prabhupada says, when we see these bogus gurus tampering with material, editing and subtracting from the purports and the Srimad Bhagavatam and things like that, we can understand how great that crime is, because it is editing and tampering with the word of Krishna. So we understand how much of a high position it is to be a guru and to receive that knowledge without addition and subtraction, as we have with the Srimad Bhagavatam right now, with Srila Prabhupada. And so we see how important it is to have a guru with all of these things. And we see also in other religions, in Jainism, many Indian religions, Jainism, Sikhism, there is the Guru Granth, then there is Buddhism. Even though they don't believe in anything very close to Krishna consciousness, still there is a disciplic succession that is followed. So all major religions originating in India have this concept of a guru. Of course, there is some change that we see in the mainstream religion that we see these days, but still that idea that a guru from disciplic succession, do we get this knowledge, is still very much intact in our Vedic culture. Finally, I wanted to point out that this relationship is everlasting. And we see this in the verse when Vidura Maharaj says, when it is pointed out in the purport, that our relationship with Krishna is forever. So if our relationship with Krishna is forever, then our relationship with the Guru is forever. And of course we sing in our Guru Vandana, चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से, चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से, दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो, दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो, प्रेमा भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते, प्रेमा भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते, वेदे गाय जहाँ चरितो, वेदे गाय जहाँ चरितो. It is said in the Guru Vandana prayers, the third verse, He who has given me the gift of the transcendental vision is my Lord, birth after birth. By His mercy, divine knowledge is revealed within the heart, bestowing prema bhakti and destroying ignorance. The Vedic scriptures sing of His character. And so here, the author is saying, birth after birth, may I keep my the dust of the lotus feet of my Guru on my head. So all of this relationship is forever and forever. I'm not sure if you all have had this experience, but in my middle school and high school, when it was time to leave the school and everything, I never kept in touch with any of those teachers, or not most of them. They would just teach me something for math, some addition, subtraction, sine, cosine, and I would just spit it out on the exam and leave. It was that kind of relationship. And once I had left those schools, I didn't really keep in touch much with many of those teachers, mainly because it was just the knowledge that was being received was of the give and take nature, as we have explained before. It was just of the process of give and take, that knowledge. But here we're talking about a different type of knowledge, this transcendental knowledge. And this gift of transcendental vision is so great and so amazing that our relationship with the Guru who gives us this knowledge is so everlasting, so perfect in that sense. So our relationship with Guru is everlasting. The last point we see in this verse, in terms of the relationship between Vidura and Maitreya, is that the Guru is Acharya. And in our Bhagavad Gita classes, something that we are studying right now is the verse Yad Yad Acharati Shreshtas. Whatever a great man will do, the common men follow in his footsteps. And whatever standards he sets by his exemplary acts, all the world pursues. And so we see this theme arise many, many times in Srimad Bhagavatam with Krishna. Krishna is studying with Sandipani Muni here, so he's teaching us again to approach a guru. Vidura, even though he's so great, learned, he's Yamaraja himself, still he takes a guru. So in that sense, even Vidura Maharaj is our guru, because he's teaching with Acharya. He's teaching through his example. And in this way, we can understand how Guru, he teaches by example. And we've all had experiences of this in our own lives, of advanced devotee coming to us and them really shaking up our lives, and not just with their words, but with their actions as well. There's a beautiful quote by St. Francis of Assisi, and he says, "Forever and ever preach the gospel, and when necessary, use words." What does that mean? When necessary, use words. So that means that all the time we should be, or the Guru is, and we also should aspire to be like the Guru. They are always, in one sense, living and breathing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we see that in the example of our Srila Prabhupada. He was truly a living and breathing example of Krishna consciousness because he had so much conviction. And hopefully, one day, it is my prayer that I can also become fully convinced, so that I am not just speaking these words, and instead I'm truly feeling them. And so I would like to end with the point that Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj makes in his lecture on this verse. Our one-pointed devotion to our Guru, to our spiritual master, is one and the same with our one-pointed devotion with Krishna. So the more we engage in relationship with more advanced devotees, that is the same relationship we have with Krishna. And with that, I would like to end this class. If there are any mistakes I've made, any comments you have, anything I missed, I would love to hear. Otherwise, Hare Krishna.